Welcome to toy-polloi. Parental guidance. This video contains scenes of Lego destruction.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi, and in today's video we are going to be repairing this vintage Kenner Star Wars Empire Strikes Back FX-7 figure, because if you collect these figures you'll know that quite often when you find them the little claw that should be here in the middle is missing. So that is the main thing that we are going to be fixing up today. Now this figure is not a particular favourite of mine. I remember getting it sort of as a child and thinking, well, what is it? It doesn't really look like anything. But if you watch The Empire Strikes Back you do see it when Luke is in the back tank. So it's certainly a figure that you need to get, especially if you want to make up that scene. But as I say, this is the common problem. Now with FX-7 he also has another issue in the fact that he is completely made out of a sort of a harder plastic, and he is pretty much impossible to get apart. And let me show you exactly what I mean. And here we go. This is the remains of an FX-7 that I've taken apart to try and work out how he has been constructed. If I bring in an original one I'll show you exactly what I mean. This bottom piece here, this bottom sort of cylinder piece, is glued into the base here. There's another piece here, this sort of mid section, which is glued onto this section here with lots of prongs that sort of point upwards. That holds in these little arms, and then the head itself is held on with a post that has a metal rivet at the bottom of it. None of this wants to come apart. In fact, to get this apart I've actually had to saw bits of it, and I ended up breaking the peg off the head just to see how that was attached. Really the whole of this toy is designed never to break. I have very occasionally seen this figure with this bottom section fallen off, and I can honestly say I have no idea how that happens because it is glued on so firmly. There is glue all the way around and all underneath, so actually removing it is quite a feat. It must have been a manufacturing error that makes these occasionally fall off, because I can't see any easy way of getting it off. In fact, if you try and break it off you'll have real trouble. It's not something that can be done. So to fix this is not going to be a case of swapping it out. I thought it might be. I do actually have a way that we could swap this out, but that's not what I'm going to show in this video. What I'm going to show is how we can make something new to attach on to represent that little claw that should be there. So my first port of call whenever I'm fixing up something like this is to have a look in my little pot of Legos. You can see here this is my pot of useful pieces that I use most often for fixing toys, and in that I've found this selection of pieces that look a lot like claws. Now there's various ones here. We've got arms for a Lego battle droids. That could be useful. It looks like a little sort of clipped arm. Then we have some other little clips here. This one doesn't look too bad, you know, it does look like a little bit like a claw, but the one I found that I really liked was this. It looks an awful lot like a claw. If I show you it against the FX-7 claw, you see that's not too bad. With a little bit of modification I think we can make something out of that, but I don't know what this piece is called, so I've gone straight onto my favourite website, which is called Bricklink, and I spend a little time searching through that, and after a short amount of searching I found exactly what this part is called. So this is a clip with claw, and it has a number which is 48729B. So once I know that, I then go onto eBay and check that I can actually order some of these, because often with Lego pieces you can get them in different colours, and it turns out that I can actually get this in a light grey. So I've gone onto eBay and I've ordered myself some of these in light grey, and I just have to wait for them to turn up in the post. And here they have just arrived. So you can see I've got a little bag of them. They are pretty cheap to buy. I think these cost me about £2 including postage to get all of these little ones in a bag. I only really need one, but it's good to have a few more just to do some tests with. Now as you can see it doesn't really look exactly like the claw on this FX-7, so I'm going to make a few modifications to it. I'm going to use my plastic nippers, some files, and basically just sort of chip away at it until I make it look a little bit more like that claw. Try and square a few things off and make it look slightly less like a Lego piece. There's also this hole in the side. I don't know if you can just see that there. If I zoom in you can see there's a little hole in the side of the claw, and I want to cover that up, so I'm going to make a little panel and glue that over. But really I'm just going to do a little bit of modification until I've got a shape that I'm more happy with. Then once that's done we need to drill some holes in the end. We need to drill a hole in the end of this, drill a hole in the end of FX-7 so that we can attach it using a bit of an old paper clip or something like that, and then we'll get to painting it. But yeah, first thing, let me do some modifications to this and I'll make it look a lot more like the claw should look like. Okay, so this is my version of the Lego claw. You can see I've just taken some of the angles off it and made it a little bit squarer. I've also covered up that hole just using a bit that I cut off, so it's got a little sort of box over the top of it. It just makes it look a little bit more Star Wars and a little bit less Lego. We now need to drill a hole into the end of this because we're going to insert a small piece of paperclip for some structure. This is what we'll then use to attach it to the FX-7. We'll drill a hole into the end where the claw has broken off and insert the paperclip into that, and then that will give it something to support all of these new bits of plastic on. So what I've done here, this is just a piece of old paper clip, and I've got the right size bit in my pin vise here, and I'm just going to very carefully drill a small hole in the end there, and likewise on FX-7. Now that I've got the bit of paper clip in, you can see I can actually test fit this claw onto FX-7. So there's a bit of paper clip just poked into the hole that I drilled in there. You've got the hole that I've drilled into the piece of Lego, and that just slots on like that quite nicely. I will glue this in place. I'm just going to dab a little bit of super glue onto the paper clip, and that should glue on very nicely. I just wanted to make sure that it all fitted and it actually looked right. As you can see, that's not looking too bad at all. So I'll get that glued on, and then we can start painting this up and making it look exactly like it should do, because at the moment the grey finish doesn't work exactly right. The original claw was painted white, so that's what we need to do, but I'm very happy with how that is looking.
Toy-polloi.
Now I need to paint this claw, so I'm going to be using some Vallejo model colour paints. This is white, which is 70.951. I find if I use pure white, it just doesn't look right. All of the plastic on these has degraded a little bit and the colour has changed a bit, so it really isn't a pure white. So what I've done is I've mixed in a tiny amount of this gold brown, which is 70.877, just to take the whiteness off it. So it still looks white, but it's just got a little bit of a sort of dirty yellow colour to it, and I think that will match this figure much better, because you can see even the plastic of these little arms has sort of gone a little bit yellow. And I just think if I paint that pure white, it's really going to look very odd indeed. So yeah, a little bit of yellow in there, and I think it will do the job quite nicely. So I'm going to paint this on, I'll let that dry, and then I'm going to put a clear top coat on it, which is a satin finish, just to make it sort of match the original sheen that this plastic has. But first, let's paint the sort of white with a tiny bit of yellow mixed in. And here we go, this is the end result. I'm really happy with how this has turned out, and I'm very glad I didn't paint it pure white. I don't think pure white would have worked on this figure, certainly because some of the arms have a little bit of yellowing to them as well. But you can see there we now have a pretty good looking sort of claw arm added to this FX-7. If I stand in with the other ones that I've got, I think he looks the part. It's not a perfect match as it's a little bit too thick, but the overall result is really very pleasing, and it means I've now got an FX-7 that I would be very happy to put on display, and even one that I could use in some dioramas and things like that. So a little bit of Lego, a little bit of modifying, and I've managed to fix up this FX-7. I do need to say a thank you to people who've sent in bits of FX-7s to me over the years. I've got a few more in various states, so I may come back to this figure in future. If you've enjoyed this video, then make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the bell to be notified each time I upload a new video. And thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching toy-polloi. Subscribe for more great videos. You can also follow toy-polloi on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.